Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
You're watching Tesla Time News.
Episode 329.
On Now You Know.
We're brought to you, as always, by our amazing Patreon patrons. Help support us bring you independent news every week by heading over to patreon.com/nowyouknow. There's really cool perks, and it makes a great late Christmas present where you go, "Ooh, I did not get enough of that guy." All you have to do, sign up for Patreon and give them a login.
Yep. So I thought we'd bring you kind of a holiday special here. We've put out so many cool videos over the past year or so on our in-depths that a lot of you don't see, and I get it. You're into this show, not that show, but you're missing a lot of stuff, and we wanted to just kind of give you some highlights of the stuff you might have missed.
Yeah, and I mean, YouTube is notoriously bad at hiding content from people that they don't think that maybe you don't like it, but sometimes you're just like, wow, how did I miss that video? And here is the first one. I don't think a lot of people actually missed this one. This was on the Rivian. This was kind of our first go around with Rivian, figuring out that, well, you know, they were selling something that costs a little bit more than you could buy the exact same thing.
Yeah, we figured out how to get this tent for the Rivian a lot cheaper and, in fact, a lot faster. I don't even know if you still can get the official one.
I think that we're one of the only Rivians in the world that has the Yakima tent.
Yeah, so you get to see in this video the whole, testing it out, what it's like. And I was really proud of it because it took us days to shoot and we had to figure a whole lot of stuff out to get it done. And yeah, a lot of you did watch it. The sad part is that we kind of had to do a clickbaity title to get people to watch it. And that's not really our thing. We don't want to have to do that. But yeah, let's go to the next video.
The next one, we tested out the tent, and that was actually made much more difficult because of the Electrify America network. We wanted to do, camping, and camping typically means that you don't, go down the street. So we wanted to go kind of a ways away to do, what we felt was a commensurate camping episode.
Yeah, we wanted to put the Rivian through its adventure paces.
Look, I mean, lots of things went really right. The Rivian had really great, power on board, so we were able to cook using electrical power. We didn't have to light any fires, which is great from a carbon standpoint. The rooftop tent that we bought.
Oh yeah, I forgot all about the cooking. I mean, we were the first to even try to get some kind of camp kitchen going,
and we still can't get the camp kitchen.
No, and we showed you a way that you can do it very cheaply.
Yeah, and a way that would work even, you'd bring it back to your kitchen because, why spend $6,000 on the Rivian camp kitchen that you can't use in your kitchen? So basically, with just a couple of appliances, we were able to kind of do that. So yeah, I mean, overall, pretty good, but very stressful when it came to the charging.
And then we thought it's a pickup truck. Everyone's going to, try and tow something with it. So we would show you all about towing. And we came up with a lot of hacks. You were really good at towing.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you're towing a trailer, the trailer is going to be slightly inefficient. If you go fast, it's going to be inefficient. So we found a way that you can really extend the range of driving the Rivian with a trailer because sometimes you're just going to not have any charging. So yeah, just little things like that, little tweaks to the way that I drive, I think are going to make a big difference in our total range. So yeah, coming home from that camping trip, it was very insightful to see that we could make it the whole way without having to stop and charge.
And a lot of these hacks don't just apply to the Rivian. They apply to any electric vehicle when you're towing. So if you're watching this now and you're like, well, I don't have a Rivian. Yeah, but you still might tow something with your EV. So check this out. And then, of course, I'm a contractor, so I wanted to test out whether you could actually use the outlets on the Rivian to power tools. And so we did a power tool test.
We have a power.
We got power, we got air. Let's do it. Let's make some work with the truck.
All right, let's do it.
Next on Now You Know.
Battery chargers work. Pretty much every power tool that we tried, it worked. You'd have to use one power tool at a time, which, I mean, for one person is not that big a deal, but you're not gonna have a whole construction crew running off your truck.
I mean, the only thing that bums me out is that I really thought you could trickle charge a car. Like if you, plugged in the Rivian, charged it at your cabin, and then you want to charge from it for some reason. I don't know why, but
yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
Or like if you went and visited somebody on the side of the road to give them a few miles, but you can't, it doesn't seem like you can do it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't seem like you can do it. We tried 3 different chargers and 3 different vehicles and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
And you certainly can't charge itself.
And that one worked pretty good, but now let's get away from Rivian for a minute and let's look at the Ford F-150 Lightning. we could do so much more tool stuff with the Lightning because it has 220 on board, because it has 20 amp circuits as opposed to just barely a 15.
And multiple 20 amp circuits.
Multiple 20 amp circuits. It's very impressive, the difference between the Rivian and the Ford in terms of what it can do as a power source.
And so look, maybe you're not a contractor, but maybe someone in your family or your friends are. This might be a good video to share with them because they, for their next truck, they might be able to go electric.
Start breaking rocks. Okay.
And then we used the same sort of system, the onboard power, in a much different sort of way. We made a mobile office, and maybe we shouldn't have put Michael Scott on the thumbnail. I don't know.
And it's hard to tell on the thumb that that's Starlink in the back. But basically, we tested, I think we're one of the first to make a mobile office. Not only that, but do gaming, live gaming in the office that's on a truck. It's pretty amazing,
We
actually.
had a gaming PC, full gaming tower. We had internet through Starlink while we were moving. We were going 60, 70 miles an hour on the highway.
Yep, under overpasses and all sorts of things.
And we were
Trees.
able to show very low latency using Starlink. It was very amazing. We were able to watch videos. I think that was pretty cool. We found out that the hardest part about gaming while you're in a moving vehicle is actually, it's not the internet that's the problem. It's the moving around. You're trying to aim and it's not working.
And then if you're going to test an office, you got to test whether or not you can put a rock band in the truck. So that's the kind of stuff we do. We put a full PA system in the back of the truck to see if it would work, and you be the judge.
And then we wanted to test these two trucks where it really matters, in my opinion, and that is charging speed. So we spent like the whole day. We had to drive all the way to the nearest 350 kilowatt Electrify America charger and test the charging speeds of both the Rivian and the Ford F-150 Lightning. And it was really, really, really interesting results.
Yeah, and I think, again, we're probably one of the first to have these real-world results and present them to you. I think it's important information when you're deciding to buy these trucks, like how long it's going to take to charge in the real world.
Because, there is peak charge rate, and that's great. But the most important part is, what is the charging rate during the entire thing? Because, well, if you've done calculus, you'll know that you need to have sort of the integral of what it is. That's going to determine how fast you're charging this.
Yeah, the area under the curve.
So, the Rivian started off really strong, and then it just dropped really, really low, and the Ford kind of caught up. It was like tortoise in the hare a little bit.
Yeah. Not to mention a really cool Western intro. You got to check it out just for that alone.
We do our best on this channel to, put in some cinematography from time to time. This is one of the examples. You're not going to want to miss that.
Now, this next in-depth is something I'm actually super proud of, but nobody watched.
Yeah, and it's a weird one. We took an electric scooter, and we were so bummed that it was the winter and we couldn't really ride it around that we turned it into a snow scooter.
And I think we're the first in the world to have converted one electrically. There's a couple gas-powered ones on the internet, but I think this is the first. And we showed you how to do it, and we showed you the results. And I don't know, why didn't everyone just watch it? This is amazing. This is stuff you can do in your shop.
I got to say that I was pretty proud of ourselves for what we were able to accomplish.
On a very low budget, by the way.
Very low budget, very minimal welding skills. That was like my first time welding aluminum using TIG welding. So it was quite a learning experience. I think that if you ever want to be thinking about any kind of projects, this is a great little video to just kind of entertain yourself and sort of titillate the idea centers of your brain as to what you can accomplish.
Plus, I want to say we came up with a really good belt tensioning system there on our first try.
I know, pretty darn good. And if you're like, look, Zach and Jesse, that was the most stupidest form of transportation you've ever brought to us. Well, then let's talk about this. That is the NIU e-moped.
A really cool form of transportation.
Really, really great form of transportation. One that I really think that more people need to at least consider and think about.
But apparently no one wanted to watch that episode either. And I think this is one of the problems on our channel is, you guys probably want to talk a lot about Tesla, but we love all e-mobility and we're trying to give like all the different nooks and crannies of it. And this one I really loved because I think for a lot of people, this could be better than a car. This one, basically minting money, quote from Elon, our interview with EnergyX, a lot of people saw, and it's a really exciting company that Jesse and I are invested in and we wanted to tell you about. And so, yeah, really fun to talk to CEOs of companies. And that's one of the really fun things of our job, I think, is that we get to talk to founders and smart people and bring you what they're doing in the world that's innovative and disruptive. So I urge you, if you haven't checked this one out, you really should. Speaking of innovative companies, Aptera is that three-wheeled solar-powered electric vehicle that we're super excited about in San Diego. And again, we got to interview one of the co-CEOs and the new head of solar, and we learned so much more about what they're planning to put out. And if you're interested in that vehicle, you should go check this one out. We often say, do your own research or check it out for yourself. When it comes to making informed decisions, reputable sources are so important.
This is why we're excited to tell you about Ground News.
Ground News is a nonpartisan news aggregator app and website that lets you see how breaking news is covered across the political spectrum.
They gather news from 50,000 sources from around the world, so you can stay fully informed on issues being covered by the media, compare coverage, and know where your news is coming from.
For every story, you get a quick visual breakdown of which news outlets are covering it, their political bias, how factual their reporting practices are, and what type of entity owns them.
Checking in on topics is simple. We searched news about Tesla. When we click on the first article, you can see how many total news sources covered this specific story, how many are leaning left, leaning right, or are considered center.
And you can compare the headlines on the same story to see how language can shape our understanding.
And it's not just the headlines. At Ground News, you can read the entire article to see how topics unfold around the world and across the political spectrum. They're one of the sponsors we're very proud of.
Get informed. Go to ground.news/NYK or visit the link in the description to stay fully informed on issues like this. Compare headlines and know where your news is coming from.
Now, here's one that I know you didn't watch. And I'll be honest, this one's kind of a little more out there in terms of content that we do. We do the Tesla stuff, we do the sustainability stuff, and a lot of that has to do with like energy and energy storage. And I get that a lot of you are interested in that kind of stuff. This is more on the recycling side of things. This is more on waste stream management stuff, which I know tends to be a little bit less exciting. But this interview was really, really well done.
Yeah, I got to meet Tim de Vos when I was in the Netherlands on our European road trip. And it's just so great, all the amazing people that we get to meet. And he's just doing this amazing work that I wanted to share with you guys. Of course, it didn't get a lot of views, but I think it is a great video.
Kind of going along with this, waste theme, we interviewed this company called Polyloop. They have a system where they've made a microbe that can eat plastic.
I know, incredible stuff.
So instead of having to take plastic and either burn it or bury it in the ground for 10,000 years, what they're able to do is take plastic, feed it to microbes in special conditions, and it doesn't leak out into the world, and now we have plastic-eating microbes. It doesn't work like that. They don't live in regular conditions. So now instead of having, plastic waste or soot, we're going to have bioavailable stuff. So all the constituents of the plastic get turned into stuff that the earth is used to dealing
Right.
with.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of decomposed.
Yeah.
It seems impossible, but again, that's why we interviewed the founders of these companies to explain it to you directly. And another cool recycling company, Loop, we talked to Tom Zaki. He's a really cool guy. And just so many amazing ideas have come out of his brain. And so we wanted to bring you a direct conversation with him. And I think that you'd get a lot out of watching this.
And, this is the last one that we're going to talk about in terms of waste. But, it really was interesting and valuable to me because it changed the way that I thought about waste. You kind of think about waste as being like, it's all used up. And you talk to Tom Zaki and he's like, this is a gold mine. People are throwing valuable things into a bin. I want that stuff. That stuff, I want to own that.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait, but I thought that it was garbage. And he's like, no,
right.
It's not garbage. It's gold.
Yep.
All the way down to diapers.
I know. They can recycle diapers.
They can recycle diapers. And it's like, it makes sense to do that.
Yeah.
If you need to have your mind shifted a little bit, that is a great video to watch. Next up, a lot of you watched this one, so I'm glad, but if you haven't, I think it's worth a rewatch. This video that came out before we posted the debunking of it, was so fuddy, was so full of misinformation
Just
and
egregious
myths.
lies.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why we called her a liar, because there's no way you could have done any research for this video and not seen that what you're putting out was lying. Let's debunk this piece of shit.
All the way down to the footage that she used where she's like, how are we going to recycle batteries? Well, she was using footage from battery recyclers. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad that we did that video.
And that's because of you guys.
Yeah.
You guys reached out to us and said, hey, Zach and Jesse, take a look at this video. We want you to debunk it. And we did.
Another debunking video.
Not as many people saw this one.
Not as many people saw this one. Again, this came from a viewer. A viewer sent in this email, really weird email that they got. Again, just full of misinformation and lies. And we were happy to debunk that one. I think it's really important to kind of see what the other side is going to come at you with, just so you can be like, okay. And then right? Then you can look at it and be like, okay, this is not true, or there is some truth to that.
And this is another reason why we're doing this episode today, so that if you see something here that you're like, I have someone in my life I could share that with, it's important to go find it and share it.
Of course, we had to talk about Tesla Bot and how it's going to change the world.
We love talking about the future on this channel. We really feel like we have an insight into what's coming, and Tesla Bot is coming, and it is going to change everything. And we just feel like, instead of burying our heads in the sand and pretending it's not coming, let's know what it's all about and prepare.
Exactly.
I am so proud of this video, A Breath of Fresh Air, because we actually did a lot of work and research into showing that landscaping can be done electrically instead of gas powered. And we gave lots of facts and figures, showed that laws are changing. And if you're a landscaper, you really need to watch this. So every weekend, about 54 million Americans mow their lawns using 800 million gallons of gas per year. Now, that's less than 1% of all the gas burned in cars in the U.S., but because these engines are so dirty, according to the EPA, gas mowers, just gas mowers, represent 5% of U.S. air pollution.
We were actually reached out to by landscapers who said, I watched this video, it was really amazing. I'm making the switch now because you've presented really good arguments, which brings us to our next video, which is really funny because it actually predated our other video, and this is about a company up in Canada who, I think it was 3 years before we came out with the previous in-depth, was already doing electric landscaping. It's part of the reason we knew that we could promote it. It's because we knew that it was being done.
Yeah. And this is before we had all the choices that we have today. Yeah. He was making it work on a very limited number of models.
He had a solar-powered trailer that was charging all of his devices.
Cutting edge. And this is what I mean. We get to see what's coming before the rest of the world does and share that with you and get your brain spinning.
Yeah. It was a really cool interview. I'm so excited that we were able to kind of bring that so early on. It got my mind changed really early, and that's what helped us write that other in-depth. This in-depth, I think, is the one that I am absolutely the most proud of out of any in-depth that we've ever done.
The Magic School Bus.
The Magic School Bus. It was the worst thumbnail we've ever chosen.
I love it.
It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't clue anyone in as to what the heck we're talking about. But electric school buses are this thing that I think a lot of people are like, yes, we should electrify all fleets eventually. And, electric school buses will be one of those fleets eventually. Yes, carbon emissions is an important thing to consider when we're talking about electrification, but
your children's brains.
And pollution. How does pollution affect people? Well, it goes out not linearly. It's the closer you are to the source of pollution, the more polluted you are being.
And who sits on a diesel truck for hours a week?
Right. It's one of the few times in anyone's life that they're going to be sitting on a diesel truck for hours and hours and hours of their life.
And so we gave you lots of cool facts and figures. We actually had one of our viewers changed his mind about things, and he went out and actually got electric school buses and gave them away.
Yes.
$1 million in buses because he saw this video. I'm so happy that we started getting this conversation going. And now every district in America that you look at is starting to talk about electric school buses. We were years ahead of the curve, and I'm just so proud of that.
And I think that it is really important that I know that a lot of people are going to be in agreement about carbon emissions when we're talking about our bus fleets, but it is very crucially important to the health of children that their brains are not being polluted by PM 2.5 particles, by nitrogen dioxide emissions that are coming out of the back of their school buses, getting whipped around in the eddy currents and coming back in through the windows and just through the body of the bus. They've done studies to prove that the inside of a school bus is not a really good place for developing brains. So switching to electric school buses is going to have such a greater impact than just CO2 emissions, and I think that our in-depth does a really good job of showing that.
It's another one of our videos that I really think you should share with your school committee and your principals out there.
Yeah. You know, we just talked about the guy who put up $1 million to buy electric school buses. We did an interview with him. This was a really interesting one. It's about patent scams. And you might be saying, Zach and Jesse, what does that have to do with Tesla? And it is actually a little bit related to Tesla. It's kind of one of the reasons why Tesla does what they do when it comes to patents.
If you want to understand patents in this country, this is a video you have to watch because this is real world, what's actually going on, not just like a textbook from 30 years ago.
Talk about a guy who makes a difference. He came out with a movie that he made and funded himself, which exposed patent scams.
Fantastic movie, by the way. The patent scam, you really should see it.
And the law has changed since then.
Yeah, he probably made some impact.
Here's an episode that I am very proud of. We talked about oil assets being stranded, becoming stranded. And it's this thing that I don't think that anyone is talking about right now, and that is to do with solar and wind. They're the cheapest forms of electric generation, and for the longest time,
do you know how many solar panels you'd have to make?
Where would you put them all?
What happens at night or when it isn't sunny?
What happens when the wind doesn't blow?
It just won't work. The grid can't handle intermittent loads.
now that we have battery systems that can back up our grid for overnight, generation and stuff like that, we're going to be relying less and less and less on coal, natural gas, and oil fired power plants and other forms of power generation. And these assets, along with the things that bring them the stuff that they need to burn, are all going to become what is called stranded assets. And you might be saying, what's the big deal? Who cares? Well, you might have wondered why the oil and gas industry has been pushing so hard to fight electric vehicles and to fight green energy.
This is one of the reasons why.
This is one of the biggest reasons why. They've already spent all this money on all of these different things that they had to buy, from power plants to coal mines to oil fields to even just tanker ships and stuff like that. All of these assets are going to become stranded if they're not required anymore.
Right.
And they haven't finished paying them off because they weren't really planning ahead for the future that much. And so they're trying to slow down the transition. This video kind of goes into why that is.
Which leads right into the impending big auto oil implosion explained. And I am really proud of this video because it really explains to you the oversight of why is this all happening? Why is it going to go wrong? Because a lot of you, I think, watch this channel and are like, you seem so sure that EVs are going to make it and that big oil and big auto is going to die. And we gave you lots of facts and understanding of why that's going to happen in this video.
Right. And if you're wondering why we feel that way, it's pretty much all explained in this video from a little while ago, and a lot of that stuff has come true.
Exactly.
So, yeah, we've just really been trying to stay on top of this. We've really been ahead of the curve in terms of talking about some of this stuff where people are just like, you guys are crazy. This is never going to happen. Right. And now it's starting to be like, oh, this might happen.
And I mean, there's a lot going on geopolitically right now, and we put out this video on 5 things you can do to stop this man. And there's things you can do in your own life that will actually have an impact on the world. And I think we're all feeling that right now. We all want to have something that we can do, but it feels impossible. In here, I hope we empowered you.
Right, because you have to keep in mind, if you have been buying gasoline, you are in part supporting a country that produces gasoline, whether or not you're buying the gasoline from that country.
And it's not all fear. We put in there 5 things you can do. Yeah. And this is another one.
Here's a big one. And we've had a big impact on just this video alone. And this video has had very few views. I really urge you to check this out. This is about defunding big oil in a way that you can do it. Because you might be saying, oh, I'm not funding big oil. Well, if you have money in a bank, there's a good chance that you actually are. You see, banks, what do? They loan out money. That's how they make their money.
You're thinking of this place all wrong, as if I had the money back in a safe. The money's not here. Well, your money's in Joe's house.
Whose money are they loaning out? Your money. And so if you have a bank that's loaning money out to big oil to either buy or lease oil fields or build dirty power plants, you're helping to support big oil indirectly.
And in this video, we tell you how you can move your money to banks that don't. And so far, we found out from just the few people that filled out our Google spreadsheet that over 100 people have done this, and they've moved over $7 million away from funding big oil. I'm super proud of that. So go watch this, fill out the spreadsheet, and tell us what you're doing.
Yeah. This episode, I think, is still just as important as it was when it came out, and it is about the Supercharger, stupid.
Yeah, it's Tesla's moat, and we're all kind of worried now, right? Is it going to stay a moat? Is he going to give it away? And that's what we talk about in this episode. We got a lot of flack for this one. Dear Tesla, Jesse and I love you. We've always loved you. But
This is probably
Tesla, we love you, but...
Yeah, it's probably our most controversial video.
Because, these two fanboys here of Tesla actually had to give some tough love to Elon, and we had some good reason to do it. You should watch the video and find out what we were so upset about that we felt we had to say it. I loved filming this video.
I can't believe we got to do this video. So, as you know, full self-driving beta has been out for a while, and a lot of people have been, testing it out. And I've always been stressed testing it out, and people have always gone like, Jesse, why are you so stressed? I have the scientific data to back it up now. We went to a company called iMotions, and they hooked me up with all sorts of sensors and gadgets, tracking my eyes, tracking the sweat on my palms to see when I was stressed out,
Your heart rate.
tracking my heart rate as we were driving in full self-driving beta through Boston, Massachusetts.
And we did it scientifically. We did it both with full self-driving and not, so we could compare. And you're going to see the data in this video. It's really cool.
Stress is good. Stress is good.
This is such a hidden gem of an in-depth that we did quite a while ago, and it is the hidden cost of fossil fuels. Just one of them. It's not all of them. And might be not something that you're thinking of. It's underground storage tanks for gasoline or oil.
Yeah.
And you might be saying, well, what about them?
Yeah, I never see them.
They leak, and they also just pollute the air as well. And you might be saying, who cares? Well, they're polluting air near schools, near homes.
Near your water supplies.
And they're also polluting the water supply. So just another little hidden cost of fossil fuels that we wanted to add into our list here because I was very proud of that in depth.
I'm proud of this series. We did Elon the Disruptor series, and we showed you all the different things Elon is doing to disrupt the world. Many people just know him for Tesla. Maybe some people know him for SpaceX, but there's so many things, and we walked through all of them, and I'm really proud of it, but of course, not many people watched it.
Of course not. It was... some of them were pretty popular, but there was one that we missed. We didn't anticipate him disrupting Twitter. So that's the one that was missing.
So being the holiday season, we wanted to get this episode out to you and also give our team a break. We've been doing episodes, one right after the other. This is episode 329. We have not missed a week, and we still haven't missed a week. We'll get back to regular news next week, but we want you and your family to enjoy the holiday. Thank you so much for watching. And, if you've got a little time this holiday season, maybe pop in our playlists here that we have down below and watch some of these in-depths that you may have missed.
We'll see you next time.
Now you know.